Alright, everybody. I am here. I'm gonna run off to do something real quick, but I should be back before this timer is done. So, we will be doing our season finale after watch after that timer runs down. I forgot about my earbuds. Gonna need those later on. Okay. Alright. Timer is running down. Hello, everyone. I am here for the Season 2 finale of Deadloch. And it was quite a season. All right, so I'm gonna leave that there. I'm just adjusting a couple things, but mostly keep everything like it is. It's been a great season. I'm just gonna kind of go over a rundown of how I'm going to approach this. It will be a little bit different than my usual after watches for Deadloch, because it is the season finale. So I will start out with my gist of the episode like I usually do. I have my breakdown of things that's going on, but I felt like it was kind of long. And I have 2 clips that I want to show. So I'm going to try to go about halfway through my list of episode breakdowns. And then I'm going to play a clip that is about 4 or 5 minutes long. Then I will do the rest of the list of things that were going on in the episode. Then I will do my VIP, piece of shit, favorite, least favorite scenes, all of that. Okay. After that, I have one more clip to show that I think is around 7 minutes. And then I'm going to kind of score the episodes. First, second, third, fourth, that kind of thing, up to last place, which was 6th. So, let's go ahead and get started. So, the gist of this episode I took as people are not who they seem. We get a lot of information in this episode, and come to find out later on that a lot of things that seemed to be a certain way were not at all what they seemed. And a lot of people that seem to be a certain way were also not at all what they seem. So that's kind of what I put the gist, that people are not what they seem or who they seem. All right. Now, when we start the episode, we start right where we left off. Freaking Dulcie is stuck in this freaking Lisa croc hunt that she had no intention of being in. But then she talks to the lady, Rasheen, and finds out Rasheen didn't intend to be there either. She's like, this was my first position in this thing, and I didn't know what I was getting into. Like, I wouldn't do this. This is crazy. And so they do run out of there, and Rasheen says that that she's gonna take her somewhere where that's not too terribly far. It's further than they might want to go, but not too terribly far, so that Dulcie can charge up her phone, call, and get somebody to pick them up so they can get the fuck out of there. So nobody ended up dead in that situation, and Dulcie was out of danger fairly quickly, so that was good. On the ride back, we've got was it? Oh, gosh. Hold on a minute. I gotta check something real quick. Okay, on the ride back, there was, I think it was Leo, Abby, Eddie. No, Leo, Abby, Dulcie, Rasheen. That might have been all. They're all in the car, riding back, explaining what the heck is going on. And Dulcie's like, look, we've got to get evidence together because this is what I really think happened. Like, she's also apologizing to Abby because Abby's like going off on one because what the fuck? You freaking thought that that Eddie killed Bushy? That's freaking jacked up. And Dulcie's like, I'm sorry, like it was awful. And no, of course Eddie didn't kill Bushy, but this is what I do think. I think that obviously Justin Wade is seriously involved with what's going on with these croc hunts. And we need to get the evidence together so that we can fucking get this guy and get him fucking out of the picture. And then on their way, they get a call and find out that these detectives have decided that they are pinning this all on Eddie. They are trying to look for Eddie, hunting her down, hunting them down, her down. I think that's what she said. Her, hunting her down, and trying to lock her up. And yeah, they're like, no. Trying to get a hold of Eddie, but Eddie was on the outs with Dulcie, so that wasn't going so hot. And throughout the episode, we're seeing like people finding out that they're being stitched up, that obviously somebody else was involved. And I said this last episode, I don't remember if I said it in my live stream, but Frank kept saying, I was being stitched up for this, I was being stitched up for this, I was being stitched up for this. And Eddie's like, what, is it the same person that stitched you up for this? It was the same person that stitched you up for this? And I'm like, it could very well be the same person, which is kind of what it looks like. Same fucking person or group of people, this Jason Wade croc hunting scheme. Then we show Eddie at Mickey's house. I think it's Mickey's house. And the kids are making Eddie up, and Mickey gets this message back that Dulcie is trying to help Eddie out, that she's so sorry and that she's trying to fix this and trying to make it right, but these people are hunting Eddie down. And so Mickey has the good sense to try to talk Eddie down and be like, look, I know she fucked up and that really sucks. It's really awful, but she is trying to make amends. You need to fucking take care of this. And these people are trying to hunt you down. Okay. And as they're having this discussion, I think it's her cousin comes in and so she starts confronting him because, like, what the fuck? You were involved in this freaking croc hunting shit. And he said that he wasn't involved with the actual croc hunting, but that he was tasked with like loading these crocs over to wherever, which I'm like, yeah, but you still kept it to yourself. Like you knew this was going on and you didn't tell anyone. And I do find that kind of jacked up, but not actually involved in any of the murderous shit that's going on. And he said that he was in too deep. He wanted out, but Jason wouldn't fucking let him. Like, he's like, the guy doesn't even fucking blink. He got in too deep and he couldn't get the fuck out. And then Eddie sees this shirt that he has from the croc hunting employers and finds out that it is exactly the same as the shirt that Bushy had, that he liked so much, that she liked so much. So yeah, that was not great. All right, then we end up at the forensics tent. I think this might be in Darwin, but I'm not 100% sure. It is somewhere where they actually have access to a quick bioscanner, like something to find out whose genetics are involved in their evidence. And yeah, so what was it? They found out about this evidence about the bullet having biological matter on it, and they want to test it. And they had Leo pretending to be one of the forensics experts, and these the detectives in charge that are trying to find Eddie, they bring the bullet. And they don't know exactly what's going on. They're upset because they thought that that they had this machine that can test the genetics like really quick. But Abby was lying and saying, "Oh no, this one's going to take like much longer," and so they wouldn't be able to do it that fast because they need extra time to make sure that Eddie doesn't get caught. But they want to get the freaking scan done. So so Leo does get the bullet. They are able to test it. And then the other kid, the male that's been with the other female, he walks in and he's talking like Leo for a while kept yelling at Abby to like stop being so loud and stop saying everything. Just quit talking because she was being so loud, and Leo was afraid that somebody was going to hear them. And this guy comes in who's been working with them, and Leo just pretends to be some other guy in there, and the guy's totally clueless. He doesn't fucking pick up on it at all. And yeah, so they are able to use the machine and get the evidence that they need. Then we go to where Dulcie finally finds Eddie, has a talk with him, apologizes, and and Eddie when so because because Eddie was being such a fucking dick in the last episode and did all that shit. So she's apologizing, and by the time she's done with her apology, she's actually said that she feels so bad and that she wishes that she could change what has happened with her best friend. Like, openly says that Eddie is her best friend and that she wishes she could fix this. Um, and Eddie makes her like grovel like a dog to get this apology out of her, which I thought was great. Like lay down on her back, on all fours up, and whimper like a dog. It was great fun. And Eddie corrects her when she's talking, and corrects her and says her them, corrects her pronouns, her them. And I was talking to my husband about it because I go by them, her pronouns, or her, them pronouns sometimes. But I had never told my husband this because the way he reacted when my kids came out. So I started talking about, like, I never have actually heard anybody go by them, her pronouns that actually wanted people to address them as them, her. It was always, you can address me as her, or you can address me as them, like she, her, or they, them, which is pretty much what I do. But they were correcting Dulcie on just saying them and said her, them. So I found that interesting. But that gave me a way to actually kind of bring it up to my husband that I do sometimes go by they, them in certain situations, or I'll go by her, they. And I explained that usually when I do that, it's with the understanding that I'm a little in between, never really been like a typical female, and I am okay with either set of pronouns, she, her, or they, them. So anyway, it went okay. He had like a couple questions, but he didn't seem mad about it at all. And then he didn't say anything else. So hopefully it's all hunky dory. I think he knows that I'm not like typical girls, and so he kind of knew some of that, and he knows that I have been very, very mad at him for the way he treated our kids when they came out. So maybe it's a little bit of that too. But either way, all turned out okay. Now, so yeah, they hold on. Hold on. Let me figure something out. Oh yeah, so after Dulcie gives the apology, she's like saying that she thinks that that they must have put a hit out on Bushy, and that's why he got shot, because he was investigating something and found out something. And Eddie was like, no, look, I found out that that shirt that he was wearing turned out to be because he's actually working with these fucking people. Because remember, I said that his shirt was so great and it had a gator on, or had a croc on one side and a copter on the other side, and she they showed Dulcie, and was like, nah, like he was just in on it the whole time. So kind of sucky, but all right. All right, I'm going to do one more and then we're going to go to the clip. So, the next thing is that fucking Pat has apparently gone off the deep end on this fucking power trip because she was so freaking upset about almost nobody showing up for her retirement party. And I get it, like, that's important, and you've devoted your life to this career, to this very small town, and almost nobody shows up, and that's awful. But then she starts taking it out on these native kids. like really, really freaking awfully. They are fishing, and she starts out seemingly okay, just telling them to get their stuff together and get out of there, just pack it up and go. And then they catch the freaking winning fish, and they're all excited about it and happy about it. And Pat decides that she's gonna just fucking take down their happiness and tell them that no, like, you didn't follow the rules. You need to throw that fish back. Just drowned all the excitement with fucking misery because she's like taking her fucking anger out on these little kids. So, just very freaking disappointing. Very, very, like seriously, shit goes wrong and stuff like that goes wrong. That doesn't mean you take it off on other people that had nothing to fucking do with your situation in the first place. Like, what the heck? And then what she does later is just so fucking atrocious. But anyway, let's go ahead and I'm going to play this clip. Okay, it starts out with a little bit of the trailer, but then after the trailer, they're going to go on to, I think it's a little bit of a interview, but it's only a few minutes, so let's go ahead and get this started. And hopefully this plays right.
I'm excited again. It's the Aussie crime comedy series that we can't get enough of. Deadloch is back.
And I believe these are news reporters from that area. So.
This is a classic territorial dispute between Land of Crocs and the Darrells. My family run this town. What is that? Nothing here is ever black and white.
Did your mum say she found anything else in that crop?
Yeah.
What was it?
I love that. Some stellar Aussie talent joins the cast this season, including Luke Hemsworth, who we are so thrilled to say welcome to the studio.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me. Wonderful to be here.
Carly's very excited about this next season.
I do love seeing you.
So
I love her dress.
Yeah. It's so Aussie.
That's like one of my favorite colors.
So good. I mean, if you saw the first season, this season is just cranked up to 12. You know, it's funnier. There's more C-bombs and F-bombs.
Croc bombs.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
You know, because I, had experience with those tours in Far North Queensland where I grew up, and mate, it's spot on, right? And there's a rich assortment of characters in real life, let alone what you've got.
Well, it's kind of like everyone's like a caricature, but they're not.
Yeah, that's right.
Real life.
They're Bill and Barry, and Steve Bisley is there, and it's just some of the best thing I've seen Steve Bisley do for a long time. Oh, like a lesbian giraffe and a Shetland pony. So good.
I did love that one.
You're a very good mimic, Luke. But it's actually...
look at the period.
Can I just say how nice it is to see Aussie-made products as well? Like, it's just so important.
Yeah, I've spent, the last couple of years travelling. I've been in Budapest and Morocco and in Toronto. And there's just such a familiarity and ease when you come back and work with, with our language. Americans, we speak the same language, but we're very, very different. They're kind of kooky and they don't understand anything you say, so you have to explain everything. So it's lovely to have a shorthand.
Was it hard to find inspiration for playing a croc wrangler?
Yes. I approached him more from the point of view of as a game show host.
Yeah.
Steve,
like Larry Emder.
Steve is just, the other ones are held in such high regard, and I didn't want to bring it down at all. So it's there's a bit of Larry.
Well respected.
Bit of Jamie Jury and everyone in there,
Jamie Jury.
Oh, that's an interesting one.
Short shorts.
Oh yeah, have a look at him. What a specimen.
I know.
I'll tell you what I loved this year too that I saw towards the end of last year, Dark Wolf, which I just consumed. Like I did it in one sitting. Yeah. Absolutely loved that. That was fun. But the action sequences. So your variety of work at the moment, how is it?
Yeah, it's a blessing. That show was an absolute beast.
Yeah.
Incredible thing to work on. And you just got actors who are constantly leveling up their skill set. Everyone is proficient with, their movement. You've got Navy SEALs on set. You've got Rangers on set. So it's a show that's made for that community, and it's very, very realistic. And as an actor, those are the things you sort of latch onto. You want specifics, and the best thing you had at the end of those days was having the director, who was an ex-Navy SEAL, who saw a lot of combat, and never gave anything away. And if he gave you a little bit of a like, yes,
Look. Yes.
That's a look Sarah gives me every day.
Every now and then. Every now
But
and
most
then.
of the time, he's just dead flat.
Also, Beast is coming up too, which I can't wait for. So what a cast!
So good. Dan McPherson is just...
He's a legend.
Just a legend.
How fit is he?
He's so
Russell
fit.
Crowe as well.
Russell's amazing.
How fit is he?
Bren Foster, who plays the antagonist. Him and D-Mac did all of the choreography, and there's zero stunt doubles, I think, in it. And they're just... The fight scenes are like nothing you've ever seen before.
He's incredible, Dan. I love him.
So good.
And Rusty, eh?
Big Russ. I love Russ.
Yeah, same.
Always.
Amy
I've done
Shark too.
three films with Russ, and I still haven't had a single scene with him, unfortunately.
Oh, he's
You
elusive.
might have missed that.
Have you been to the Irish bar at his house?
Oh, I've never got an invite, no.
Oh, Rusty. Drop the ball.
I have. Anyway, I stayed in there for 3 weeks, my God.
Lips are sealed.
That's it. Good on you, Lukey. Lovely to
to
see
see you,
you.
Luke.
One of our great actors. Deadloch launches on Prime Video today. Make sure you go and check it out.
Well,
He's
that's
a proper
obviously
legend. Great
old,
actor.
but
Good to see you, mate.
All right. I'm gonna go ahead and close that. Actually, let me hold on. I need to adjust something real quick. I think it's that. Do that. All right. Hey. All right. That will be the start of the next thing that we're going to watch, but it's not going to be right now. So let me get back to the live scene. All right, so we're going to finish going through my breakdown of what happened on the episode. I think we ended with the situation where Pat's on this fucking power trip with the native kids and just treating them like shit when they just found this, just fished up this winning fish, and she basically made them throw it back in because she's just accusing them of crime because they didn't play by the rules and all this stuff, and starts threatening the kids. It was awful. It was awful. All right. We go back to Eddie and Dulcie. They're talking now, and they're talking about what had happened in this past situation when Bushy got killed that night. Like, what exactly happened? Because Eddie hasn't been exactly forthcoming about why they were in Bear Creek and what was going on with that. And it turns out that there's this whole devastating like disloyalty that happened, that Bushy apparently decided that he was looking for a different freaking partner, didn't want to be Eddie's partner anymore. So they had that big fight, and Eddie goes and gets drunk, but then we also find out later on that they were given this stuff by what's his name, Luke, this beer, I think it was like a pale ale or something like that, given this beer that, because Eddie kept saying something about the flavor of bananas, and it specifically said on the bottle with hints of banana. And as soon as Eddie saw that, he was like, this is like on to something. Like, you fucking did this shit. Like, you fucking intoxicated me. You made sure that I was freaking wasted off my ass to where I wasn't going to remember shit, and I wasn't going to be doing or saying the right thing. Anyway, we aren't to that point yet. So, but either way, Eddie says that Bushy was going to freaking just put him, throw him under the bus, basically, and and finds out that he's involved with this shit. So, not cool. And Dulcie is like, okay, but you really need to be completely honest with me about what happened. Like, why were you in Bear Creek? And come to find out, it's because Eddie was so upset about being thrown under the bus that she took Bushy's dog, Sprague, packed it up in the cruiser, took it over to her croc to be eaten by the croc. And she says that, say that they didn't want to say anything to Dulcie because Kath loves dogs. Like she can't even, stop talking about a dog when it's a dog that she doesn't know at all. Like, it's a complete stranger. You should just show her a picture and she's going crazy. So she knew if Kath finds out anything about her killing this dog, it would be awful to their relationship. So anyway, and then Dulcie's like, so you're telling me that you had nothing to do. This wasn't a murder of anybody. This was you threw his dog to the crocs, which is terrible. It's terrible, but it's not the same thing as homicide, which was something that Dulcie pointed out because Eddie equated them as being the same thing because the croc was so important. And and Dulcie's like, it's homicide because it's for humans. But anyway, next thing. So they I don't think it's this point. Hold on just a sec. I need to evaluate what I have written here. Okay, yeah, they don't get to the footage until later. But the reality is that Dulcie is like talking about how Eddie went in the cruiser and chased after Bushy. And Eddie's like, I never freaking chased after Bushy. Like, that didn't happen. So Dulcie's got it in her head that this vehicle went out and it was taken out by Dulcie, or not by Dulcie, by Eddie. But we find out a little later that that's not exactly how it went. Okay. Oh, okay. So now we're back at the forensics area again. And the girl this time walks in. And she's like, I know what's going on. I'm going to turn you in. And Abby's like, if you turn me in, I'm going to turn you in. And I know what's going on. I hear your freaking shit sex going on in the other room. And I know what shit sex sounds like because all the sex I've ever had was shit sex. And then she goes on to talk about how this girl is blood related to this guy and having sex, which is disgusting. But yeah, that kind of shuts her up. So, great news. Here's to Abby, like, getting the guts to just fucking stick it to people. All right, all right, and then we go back to Eddie is with Frank, and Eddie is trying to kind of coax information out of Frank about her mom, because apparently she doesn't like we don't hear a lot about her mom. We just heard something about this memorial thing that he had made that the Dawn family had fucked up or whatever. But outside of that, I don't think we really heard a whole lot. So Eddie starts kind of prying things out of Frank about her mom. At first, he's like, she's like, you know, what was my mom like? And oh yeah, she's good. Like a kind of non-answer or barely any answer. But Eddie kept prying and prying and prying until she gets more and more information. And I think at some point he tried to say that her mom was Indian, but then he said that she was from Persia. And Eddie's like, Persia's not in India. What the fuck? Anyway. No. Then we get to the part where they are looking at the footage. I think Dulcie goes to the nightclub that is right across from where they had been parking the cruiser for the police department. Goes to that nightclub because it's right across from there, and they have cameras that look on there, so she can see what's going on with these cars, with the cruiser when it goes out the night that Bushy was shot. And she sees Bushy leave in like a red pickup truck. Then she sees somebody get into the cruiser and drive after him, and she assumes it's Eddie, but it's not Eddie. Then she has the nightclub person, fast forward it to around 10 p.m. because I think it was around 7 p.m. there. And he gets to the 10 p.m. mark, and the cruiser's back. And then it's after that point that Eddie shows up, gets in the cruiser with Sprague. She's like, what the fuck? What the hell is going on? Because I guess she was expecting the cruiser to be gone the whole time. Well, anyway, has the guy back up the camera or back up the footage to the point that the other person came back in. And there's blood on the ground. I think, was it at that time or was it a little later? I think it was around this time. Abby calls up, says that the results of the genetic testing came back for the blood on the bullet, and that it was somebody with, I think it was like a gluten sensitivity with red hair. Like, she uses the scientific words, but it's basically a redhead with gluten sensitivity. And Dulcie sees the blood on the ground, sees this person get out, and that they've been shot in the foot. So they put together that, okay, this is Luke, Mr. Moonboot. That, is his name Luke? I'm not 100% sure, but I think it was Luke or something like that. That Moonboot is the one that must be involved. That got his foot shot, which kind of stands to reason. The guy's been in this foot brace for a while, and he said it was for his plantar fasciitis or something like that. But apparently it was from shooting himself in the foot. Or possibly shooting himself in the foot. Because later on, we find out that it's somebody else. I don't know if it was somebody else because of the bullet, but somehow they figure out that it's somebody else. And we'll get to that when we get to it. All right. Leo and Abby, they find the torso floating around in this river, and Abby goes to check out the torso and finds out, no, like, there's all this damage that happened before he was killed. With his chest being concave, he was ran over by something, and Leo figures out that it's the fucking duck boat. The duck boat, and DJ rode the duck boat, and it was DJ's duck boat that must have ran him over and killed him. Smashed in his side. But then after that, Abby gets a call and finds out that she's got to freaking take off, and she just leaves Leo there with this freaking torso. And Leo's like, the torso is floating away, like, and so Abby just tells Leo to go after the freaking torso, basically, to chase the torso down. And they do that until they get a little bit further up the river, and they're near where that funeral is going on. All right, and then the next thing we see is somebody in the Chomp costume over at the Croc place, the Croc theme park, dressed in the Chomp costume, and I think it's Mickey. And I wrote, is that Mickey? I think it was Mickey in the Chomp costume, trying to figure shit out, and she almost got caught because jackass Jason Wade came out, but Jason Wade was shooting off at the mouth and gave information, plus dropped a phone on the ground. She finds out because the information that he's shooting off, that Pat has had that her kids and Mav had a run-in with Pat, and so they're in trouble. So she's freaking out and she's trying to go after them. All right. All right. Anyway, right around the time that Leo finds out that, right around the time that Leo is trying to get this freaking torso up where she can get to it, she gets a call from somebody who's like calling her back about the chainsaw. And then the call ends up broadcasting on Bluetooth over to the speakers that they have set up at the funeral. Now, the funeral they had cut short because it started to rain, and I think DJ was freaking out that somebody was going to let something go, that he was going to end up getting caught in his part in it because it was his duck boat that hit their dad. So he calls the whole thing short. They throw these boxes, I think, of Dawn's parts or something like that into the river and shoot them. I'm not 100% sure that's what was going on, but that's what it seemed like. And then the broadcast starts happening over the speakers as they're trying to pack up, and it's basically like you can tell who the guy's talking about that rented the chainsaw was DJ. And his sister is like looking at him with those fucking dagger eyes, like she wants to kill him. And then this whole freaking crazy ass family drama thing happens, and multiple family members are shooting each other. And then the girl ends up going and kissing who she says is her maid of honor. And I'm like, yeah. Nobody in your family is gay, not at all. And then the mom, the grandma, I think, in this situation, she turns around. She turns the freaking gun on her own daughter. Yeah, that was crazy. But multiple of them get shot. I don't know for sure if one of them dies, but I think it's possible. Although the girl was making it sound like she could take care of him, so maybe he was not dead. But either way, multiple people shot, and then grandma fucking takes off, and we'll see her later. Yeah. Then we get into this whole chase scene. We've got Eddie found out that Luke might have been involved, and Luke fucking took off running, which me and my husband both were like, that guy sure can run on his freaking shot foot. Like, he's like booking, just running like crazy, no problem at all. And I'm like, well, he has been that way for quite a while. Maybe it's had time to heal. But I did think it was hilarious that he's in this moon boot that also had been burnt up from something, and he's just decking like no tomorrow. But yeah, Eddie's chasing him. I think Eddie's chasing him. Maybe it's something else, because yeah, Eddie's chasing him, and then somebody is chasing Dulcie. No, because goodness gracious, it was so chaotic. But I know that it was Eddie involved in the chase, fucking Jason Wade involved in the chase, Luke involved in the chase. Yeah, Eddie, Dulcie, Luke, Jason Wade, and then Coley Culkin or whatever his name is. And it turns out the whole time that Coley Culkin was the one that was causing all this drama. Apparently, Luke had been involved. He had tried to get fucking what's her face wasted and succeeded. And then what was it? DJ had poisoned his dad and ran him over with the boat. Somebody else chopped him up. I don't know who. But yeah, the whole time it's like Coley Culkin was like this second person on this phone, on this card or whatever, for dealing with the whole fucking Jason Wade thing. And he like starts trying to convert Dulcie to join his fucking illegal team of bad cops or whatever. And at some point, Luke is getting ready to kind of like explain how he was involved or whatever. And right when he's explaining, Coley fucking Culkin shoots him in the fucking head and kills him. So he didn't quite get a chance. He says something like he was trying so hard to get into this group. It's so hard to get into this group, and Dulcie is trying to get him to explain like who he's talking about, what group he's talking about, what person he's talking about, and then Culkin shoots him in the head. Probably because Culkin is, well, obviously because Culkin is trying to shut him up so he doesn't spill anything. But then Culkin goes and tells tells Dulcie basically what he was fucking doing anyway, and insists that Eddie would be a great person on his team, which is dead wrong, because I think Eddie likes to be very professional and do everything by the book. And like, that's the first thing where she's not going to be willing to do all this underhanded, backhanded, illegal shit, because she is a by-the-book person. But also, she wouldn't be willing to do something like that. She wouldn't be willing to lie, and she wouldn't be willing to, like, break the law and stuff like that. Like, her moral compass is pointed too far to the good side. So, yeah, that... I was just like, yeah, you obviously read her wrong. Sure, she's professional and she's good at her job, but it doesn't mean she'd be willing to do this. Or that she'd be a good person to do this. Anyway, then Dulcie tells him that... because it starts to look like she's in danger and he might shoot her or something like that. And Dulcie tells him that they have this card with his number and the other guy's number on it. They know who it is. And not only that, their forensics expert and the freaking journo know all of this. And no matter what happens today, he's gonna be they're going to know how he was involved in this. They're gonna know that he was involved in this, that he can't stop it. And I'm like, go ahead, do it, do the fucking typical white male shit that you guys do when you're in a situation like this, and kill yourself, because that's what typically happens. And that's exactly what he did. Just killed himself, just offed himself. So yeah, you could see that coming from a mile away, but anyway. Let's see. I am almost through my list of stuff. Okay, so at this point, I believe that Eddie is being chased by fucking Jason Wade. And Jason Wade sticks his gun in her face and turns the light on. Like, the gun is right in her face. You can see that clear as day. Like, she is right up there. And he turns the light on. And I'm like, yeah, turn the light on so that everybody can see you. So they can stop you from this madness. Which, pretty much, that's what happens. And what is it like? So Dulcie sees him with his fucking big freaking shining light. I mean, she was holding a gun with a shining light on it too, but still, it was like right in her face, and he shines this light. She goes to try to save Dulcie, and then Abby shows up, smacks him in the face with this big ass freaking like yellow sign, hits him in the face, and his teeth start falling out. And when I watched it on my reaction, I thought he got hit in the back of the head, and I'm like, damn, those are some fucking weak ass teeth. You lost like 4 of them from getting hit in the back of the head. But no, I think it was in the front of the face. So it's just the way that it was filmed or whatever. It looked a little bit different. But yeah, he was hit in the front of the face. Like 4 of his teeth come popping out, and he's bleeding all over the place. And then that croc freaking jumps up out of the water and fucking takes him away, which was just great. But then right after that shit gets all squared away, they get this call from Pat, who's still on a fucking mad freaking power trip because of how pissed off she was, I guess, about the freaking retirement dinner, which is just so fucking crazy. She is on a wild goose chase with who she thinks is Mav, who she thinks has stolen their camper van, their camper that they had at the campground. But it's not Mav at all. And she just goes after him, and they're like trying to get her to stop. It's a kid. It's just a kid. It's just a 10-year-old kid. And she freaking gets the camper to crash into something, gets out of the vehicle, weapon raised, and just fucking shoots. Like, no matter what the situation is, somebody running off with a fucking camper is not an excuse to shoot somebody. Like, that's the stupidest shit. But she shoots the person, and I'm pretty sure she kills him, which turned out to be the grandma from the funeral. So, and then right after that, Mickey shows up, and she's like, oh, hell no, you are not coming back. Like, you just had me fucking worried as fuck that my kids were going to be locked up or killed or even worse, and you were freaking going after this kid that I've been fucking put in charge in, and you fucking damn near shot him in the head and killed him because of whatever fucking power trip this shit was. But yeah, wow. And then the very end of the episode, they show them all, I think, on Frank's property in a little above ground pool. They're all swimming and having fun, except Dulcie. Dulcie comes up. She looks much better than she has, like cleaned up and in a, I think, more appropriate clothing and stuff like that. Not all black, and they're all having fun. And then later on, they also are talking about turning in their their badges. Okay? And I don't know if it's to turn in their badge for good to never be police at all anymore, because I have heard from the Kates that they probably are going to do a season 3, and I hope it is still with the same two detectives. I don't think I really want it with different detectives, because they are just such a freaking hoot together. But anyway, at the end, Kath goes, they decide to go and take vacation. Was it Eddie said that she couldn't find her, they could not find the badge or whatever. And they're like, I'll probably piff it in the river anyway. But Dulcie had turned hers in, and Kath and Dulcie go on this like unemployment vacation, and it turns out Kath is taking her to spy at, like taking her to watch storms, to do the storm chasing thing, which apparently is a big thing that Dulcie really likes. I know they've said a couple times that she really likes the weather, but like I never picked up that she was that into that kind of thing, but apparently she was. So that's kind of the end of the show. And now I've got one more video that I'm going to show, and it is this interview with the guy who plays Jason Wade, the lady that plays Dulcie, and the lady that plays Eddie. And yeah, let's go ahead and take a look at that. And then after that, I'll go through my kind of VIPs and my ranking of stuff, which I think I was going to do it a little bit different, but that's fine. We'll do VIPs and all of that, and then I'll do the ranking of the episodes.
See, they have 3 vaginas.
I not know this.
Ha
Detectives, there's a local man who reported a body in the river.
Hello.
From Pedestrian TV.
Hey, Tom.
Taking the time to chat.
Pleasure.
So I guess just diving right in, season 2 of Deadloch is coming off the back of some pretty big success with season 1 with an Emmy nomination. How does the success of season 1 change the pressure going into the new season?
I mean, it's nice to know that.
Diamonds are formed under pressure, mate.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't feel that pressure.
I didn't either.
Not, you know, that somebody, that the Kates are back there kind of creating something that they will not let be anything other than magnificent. Like, they are so hardworking, funny.
Perfectionist.
They do not rest. And so I think, I'm sure they felt an
Acting.
extraordinary amount of pressure, and we got the joy of, you know.
I feel like I rock up New Zealand, Cuzzy over on the islands over there in New Zealand. I rock up season 2 and I'm like, oof, we got a job to do. And I think I feel so focused on like just all of the relationships and just the acting of it that I don't even think about it. I don't think I think about it until it's about to come out, like literally before people watch
like
it.
Yesterday.
And yeah, like yesterday I was like, oh, I hope they like it. I hope they like what we made 2 years ago.
Yeah.
But yes, again, I think the Kates won't. They're not going to put out anything they're not happy with.
Yeah, I couldn't care less. I was like, where do I stand?
Yeah.
Yeah. So uninvested.
So uninvested.
Say some funny stuff.
Now, speaking
Total
of,
fangirl. Yeah.
speaking of funny stuff, one of my favourite elements of the show is the combination of humour with a murder mystery. How important is that levity for the tone or the DNA of the show?
I mean, I always look to you to kind of take a breath in and go, are you going to answer first?
Yes,
or
I don't know.
Think of something.
Well, I think that what I think is so cool about our show is that it is this laugh out loud, like grimy. It's like it's sweary show, and it's so funny, side-splittingly funny. And then I think what the Kate's really masterstroke is that then they kind of sweep the carpet out from under you in a moment and can pull you right. Yeah, laugh now. You laugh, you're crying, or you're shitting yourself because it's so terrifying. And I think that's really their skill. So I think I don't know if that answers the question because I've forgotten, but I think that mixture, that like kind of mixture of like comedy and pathos, I guess, is what makes the show, sets the show apart.
And when we're having a good time, we kind of invest more in ways that we're not necessarily conscious of. We just want to be around these people and be in their world, and you kind of become a vulnerable audience member in that you kind of let it in, and then to be hit with some messaging that is quite intense is, I think, just so beautifully pitched in the show. Yeah.
I guess along that same line for each of you, would you say it's harder to land a comedic moment or a dramatic moment?
I spilled my water.
Oh, no.
Same. They're the same.
They're the same. I think they're equal. I think it's equal hard.
Equal bits hard.
Equal hard. Yeah.
Equal hard.
Yeah.
That makes sense. And you mentioned kind of the sweary nature of the dialogue earlier, which I very much appreciate, and F-bomb is kind of music to the ears.
Yeah.
Now
I said the C word out loud. I didn't say it. I just said it, and I'm
Did
sorry.
you?
No, it's okay.
I said it with such gusto, but then I felt a sense of
You felt like you were going to be told off by your dad.
By my dad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. But I just never get to do it, and so I sometimes then get overexcited.
Yeah.
And it's not cool, and I want.
My mum always says you can't say it unless you've got one.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's interesting.
Well, I'd say I've got 3 of them.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Interesting.
Now,
like a kangaroo.
I say stuff like,
Do
if
they?
it belongs in the
That's
toilet, you probably
many
shouldn't be
at
talking about it. And if
Kangaroos don't have
your
vaginas.
grandmother would be upset to hear you
weird with
saying
the
it,
pouch.
you might want to,
Oh, that'd be
like,
interesting when you're home
Well,
alone.
but-
and
give it a second
retro
thought
movie
before it comes out of your
which one to
mouth.
start with.
Look, science, arts. I went toward arts.
They've got a front bum, they've got a middle bum,
Yeah.
and they've got a back
Pee
bum.
and they poo out of the same place, yeah?
At least that's what I tell
3 kangaroos
kids.
standing next to each other.
Adults,
Were they
I'm
bending-
like,
were they
whatever,
bending
you
over
know,
with their
you're,
tails up?
you're
Like-
your own self.
I think we're gonna
And
go
I
back.
don't really get after kids too much for swearing, but I do kind of err on that. Like, if it belongs in the toilet, you probably shouldn't be saying it.
That doesn't.
If
Hang on a second.
your enjoyment is
I don't wanna know details, and I certainly don't
brought
wanna hear
to
what
you
Lucky
by
Mother
giving
said.
somebody else misery, you probably
Kangaroo's
shouldn't be
vagina.
saying
Why is
it.
no one talking about
And
this?
if you'd
Well,
rather
I
your
just did.
mom or
Yeah.
your
Got
grandma not hearing it,
Nobody talks
True.
about it.
Yeah. I
maybe
take
give
it
it
all
a
back.
second thought
Fascinating.
before it
No,
comes
that's all
out of your
good.
mouth.
Is every swear word written into the script, or are you given free rein to improvise in those moments?
I would hope they'd give us
I
some
would say season
free
2
rein to
is a lot more
improvise.
sweary
extras.
because we're in the sweariest, like Eddie's sweary hometown.
We're in the sweariest.
There are a few added ones.
Yeah.
I'm peppered in.
Europe. It creates a level of ease when you add a few little swear words.
Oh, absolutely. And it's part of that comedic tone, which I love.
We definitely did keep getting the note.
Yeah.
Hey, there's a few additionals. Can we just keep
say
it?
that with
Yeah, let's keep it to the script, and then no one listened to that. No.
F words per minute ratio.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Can we do one without the swear word?
Yeah. That's not the show. If you took the swear words out of the show, you
Yeah.
wouldn't have much of a show.
Nah,
Someone should do an edit.
you wouldn't say anything.
Someone should do an edit.
say
Really just take
anything.
the
Just say,
swear word
and?
Yeah. Yeah.
Just one continuous beat.
Yeah.
Now, this season leans into Australia's reputation for deadly wildlife. Do you think that fear is exaggerated maybe on the international stage, or is Deadloch kind of tapping into something that's like a real fear for Aussies?
I don't know if it's
I
a
don't
fear
think it's a
for
fear for
Aussies.
No.
You guys aren't scared of shit because you grow up with it. As a New Zealander coming into this environment, I'm like, you're all insane.
Yeah,
Season 1, I was like, you know, they were like, oh, you know, just we're shooting out in the bush, so we'll just do a bit of snake safety. I'm like, guys, I don't know what that means. Oh, I'll just stamp around a bit. I'm like, excuse me?
Don't stand
with a
snake. Yeah.
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 We wear it as a badge of honour, I think.
Yeah.
On the world stage, we're like, oh yeah, of course, yeah, it's super dangerous back home.
Yeah.
You know, but we don't. The reality
I'm
is
here,
we,
aren't I?
we don't have bears and
Yeah.
lions and tigers. Like
Oh, my.
we actually don't. Oh.
I did meet a
Tigers
surfer
and bears.
I met a surfer in Darwin last week because there's a lot of surfers out in wet season.
Yeah, right.
And it's kind
Stinger
of
suits?
absurd. No. But I was talking to this guy, and he's surfed in Darwin for his whole life, and he was like, oh my God, I'd never surf down south, too many sharks. I was like, it is kind of your thing, right, where you grow up? Yeah.
It's terrifying.
You're all nuts.
Well, that about wraps it up. Thank you so much for your time. I really enjoyed the show, and congratulations on season 2.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good one, guys.
Yes, thank you.
All right. right. Okay, so we're done with that one. Gonna go back to the live scene. All right. Yeah, so the little bit I've heard of Australia, I think somebody told me and my husband early on that like there's a lot of dangerous animals there, like a lot of very dangerous poisonous, like all kinds of stuff like that. And I was like, well, then I don't think I want to be visiting there. Like some of it looks fascinating and interesting, but the idea of being around all these dangerous poisonous creatures and stuff, that doesn't sound very appealing to me. But anyway, okay, so we have my VIP for the episode is Mickey. And I think I've had her as my VIP before. But, like, this girl, she's been doing all this stuff to help them out. And her kids end up fucking caught in the crossfire of this lady's freaking rampage. And she's freaking out. Like, that's an awful fucking thing to go through. As a mother, as somebody who cares about their fucking family, and this shit's going on. But also, she has been helping these people out. And I think, when it comes down to it, Frank got locked up for this croc stuff. But it sounds to me like Frank was actually helping Mickey with croc justice, because she found out that these things were being killed, and she's been trying to fucking deal with it, and she's been, you know, trying to hide what's going on and keep her family out of it. I just feel like I feel bad for her, but also I feel like she's really been a true friend to all these guys. And piece of shit for the episode, Pat. Like, what the hell? You have a bad retirement party and you just go off on the deep end like that. That was fucking awful. Horrible. Favorite scene. When Abby just went off on the other forensics girl, when she was going off on her about her having bad sex in the room next to her, and that she knows bad sex because that's all the sex she's ever had. That was just, I love that. That was so priceless. The worst scene I feel like was when Abby took off and left Leo to just like try to trace this freaking torso as it's floating in the river, but without a way to really get it. Certainly without a way to get it without getting the nasty fucking dead torso on her. And just, I don't know, just leaving them like that in that situation seemed awful. So that was my least favorite scene. All right, now ranking the episodes. So for 6th place, I have episode number 5. Why did I dislike episode 5 so much? Just hold on a minute. Let me see if I can't take a look at these episodes. So episode 5, it was like all these leads that they had were turning out to be wrong. Like, we start finding out that Eddie's dad's been stitched up, obviously, multiple times by fucking Wade's, by fucking Jason Wade organizations or whatever. But it was like all the stuff that seemed to be going on, all the leads they had were going bad, and plus that whole thing with Dulcie treating Eddie like that, that was just, I was just like it's so unlike Eddie in the first place. The whole fact that she turned Eddie's VIN number in, found out that it was Eddie's VIN number, and didn't even tell Eddie about that. I'm like, that's not like her. So, yeah. Least favorite episode. Second to least, the Ladies' Day, Night. Episode 4. Trying to remember. Why did I dislike that one so much? I mean, that one kind of like... That one kind of like, there was a lot of the evidence was not like, a lot of the stuff they were doing did not turn out to be panning out. So that's part of it too, I think. It was like 4 and 5 both. A lot of this shit wasn't coming together right. I mean, obviously, because that whole fucking Jason Wade thing. I mean, when Jason Wade was just dropped from the investigation, like everyone was like, nothing's going on here, and he started complaining about them, I was just like, this seems so wrong. Like, they seemed so involved in some way, and then we just completely dropped the whole thing. That seemed wrong to me. But anyway, yeah, episode 4 was my fifth place. Fourth place, episode 6. There was a lot of stuff going on. I think the final episodes, there's always a lot going on, and it is hard for me to keep track of, and that kind of frustrates me. I mean, it's partially because of the way that I process things, so it's on me because I don't process things fast enough. But it makes it hard for me to keep track of things. I had to watch this show 3 times to really kind of like keep up with what the heck was going on. I also rewatched the whole season with my husband, which was very interesting to do because I started picking up on so many things watching the episodes back through with my husband. So that was actually kind of cool. But anyway, that was 4th. So third was episode 1. I usually like the first episodes for them like building on the characters and showing what's going on, and I do kind of like that, but there's always some episodes that I will like more than that. So it's just the kind of the reality of the thing. First episode was number 3, because I do like that. I do kind of like that character building and showing us who people are and showing us what's going on. But it also tends to be a little bit slower, tends to drag a little more, and tends to, like, you're not necessarily vested. I'm vested in the characters that I know, of course, but I don't know exactly what's going on. So anyway, second favorite was episode 2. Episode 2 was the second episode, and it was my second favorite. Just like a lot of stuff going on with them trying to get this fucking Croc theme park people, trying to investigate them, and they're not freaking paying Dulcie any mind, or at least it seems like it. They're not answering questions, and they're acting like it's because they aren't paying attention, but really I think it was because they're trying to throw them off the track. But like, to me, that from the beginning was like, what is actually going on? Like, you were on the right track, and because of whatever happened, and because they were covering up their tracks, that to me is why that got dropped. But yeah, I liked it, and plus there was a lot going on. It was really good, and that I think is when Abby showed up, which I always liked Abby, so I was very glad to see Abby. And that also brings me to my favorite, which was episode 3, because to me that's where Abby really like started to like was being focused on a lot more, and Abby was making some real breakthroughs, I think, in the case, finding out that these limbs were not hacked off with a knife or whatever. Like somebody used a hard cutting piece of machinery, this chainsaw, which they didn't know for sure that it was a chainsaw, but they knew that it was like some kind of machinery cutting these limbs. And yeah, so anyway, yeah, I loved all the stuff that was going on in the boys episode, in the episode 3. I love the stuff going on with Abby and with everything happening. I just thought that was my very favorite episode. And I think that is all I have for you. And that's also the season finale. Like I said, I have heard, I think they did an interview with the Kates, that the showrunners of this show, and it does sound like they are being pressed for a season 3, and they are probably going to do a season 3. I don't know where, but they mentioned that that they're trying to do it so that they do it in various areas of Australia. They were also talking about possibly going to Antarctica. They said they brought up possibly Sydney, and I don't remember where else, but they definitely sound like they probably will try to do a season 3, and it's probably going to be in another area. And I really, really, really hope that it is the same 2 detectives. That would be great. I know that Dulcie said she's turned in her frigging badge. And that she seems to like this weather stuff, but I still hope. I also found it very interesting that they had this journo working for them. And at some point, I think in episode 4 or 5, it sounded like they were actually calling them a detective. So I thought that was interesting, that they had this journo, that they kind of like haphazardly got them working with them. And it sounded like, I think Eddie had said that they were working for them for free at first, but they did get them on. It sounded like they got them on the payroll, so maybe they were getting paid after that. I don't know, but it was fascinating. It was interesting. I mean, I would think there's certainly going to be situations where it's probably good to have a freaking journalist on your payroll, but just seemed unusual to me. But anyway, that is all of season 2. It's done. I am going to be doing reactions, but they're gonna be put out much later. I don't know when, because we've got House of the Dragon coming up after Testaments is over. I think after that there's what is it? There's House of the Dragon. At some point there's going to be a Last of Us, but I've heard that that's not till 2027. There is a 3 Body Problem that's going to be coming up at some point. I need to find out when that is coming out. I also have a season of Night of the Seven Kingdoms that I still need to put out. And then I will get, after I get Night of the Seven Kingdoms out and a lot of that other stuff is out, then I should be able to, but it could be a long while. I don't know. It could. We'll see. It's like when I have a freaking gap in time to get all the editing done is when I usually get these shows that I record without editing, like this. When I do the live streams, I record my reactions, but then I edit them later on down the road, so it can take a while. But anyway, that's all I got for you. See you when I see you. Bye.